For the first time ever, it's a bad day in the world of Magic the Gathering. We have the Festival in a Box disaster. On top of that, Wizards of the Coast is sending out cease and desist letters to proxy makers. If that wasn't crazy enough, we also have some serious problems with the serialized cards and an extra little slap in the face for people who got the heads I win, tails you lose commander deck.
Magic. History.
I'm an old wizard!
The magic historian.
My bones hurt.
Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends! I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for what to me is an absurdly hilarious day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast has found a way to outdo themselves yet again, as if the dumpster fire wasn't burning bright and high enough. They're like, yo, I got a bag of tires, son. Coming in with a bag of tires. Lob them on the fire now. So, we're going to start out with the Festival in a Box. Then we're going to move on to the cease and desist action. We'll talk about the serialized card problem. And we'll finish off with the heads I win, tails you lose, because Wizards just can't help themselves, and it's the glorious little cherry on this Sunday of stupidity. So, we're starting out Festival in a Box disaster. Now, you may be thinking about yesterday's Festival in a Box we just talked about. That was the clearance in a box. But no, Wizards thought it would be fun to not only have people clowning on how bad the new Festival in a Box is. Like, you have to understand, the first Festival in a Box sold out in the blink of an eye. It was just gone. Whoosh, right? The second one is still available for sale right now. And I imagine with what's going on, nobody's going to be clamoring to buy it. So let's put a picture up on the screen. Do you want to see what the Festival in a Box looks like? Take a look at the picture here. You can see all of the different items that are on there. Oh, look at that. You got your play mat, you got your deck box, you got some commander decks. That's cool. And hey, wait a minute. What's that? What's that there in the middle? Is that a mystery booster? Is that a single mystery booster? Because that's supposed to be a mystery booster box, right? That's supposed to be a $200 box. These things cost, for one of these festivals in a box, they cost $270. Like $200 of that is the mystery box. So they sent this guy one mystery pack, and you're like, okay, I get it. You know what? One time it's a fluke. Oh no, he ordered two. Oh, and both of them came that way. Oh, two times is a fluke. Oh no, there are other people in the MTG Finance Reddit saying it happened to them. Oh, it's not a fluke, and now people are genuinely confused, and they're going back and looking at the original documentation. Faith in Wizards is at an all-time low, to the point where people are going, I've got like screen caps and Wayback Machines of the original posting. It says a mystery box. They owe us a mystery box. It better be a mystery box. And it's like, bro, this is your item to celebrate your 30th anniversary for people who couldn't be there, and you couldn't care less. You just didn't even bother. So this has happened to multiple people, and this is as they're trying to sell the new Festival in a Box. It's glorious. The new Festival in a Box, by the way, is straight up worse. It costs the same amount, but they took out the $30 virtual ticket. They took out the foil Sol ring. Like they and they dropped the commander decks from Kamigawa down to old clearance garbage Zendikar Rising and Kaldheim. Like, the new Festival in a Box is open your mouth, we're gonna spit in it from Wizards of the Coast. But they miscalculated and screwed up the first one, and they're showing up right as it's in the ordering window for the second. It's absolutely glorious. It's reached the point where all Wizards does is mess up. Is there anything good? I mean, I love the Brothers War cards, but is there anything actually good going on over at that company? Things are absurd. The quality control is at an all-time low. Hey, here's a rare Hurkle. Hey, here's a mythic rare Hurkle. We don't even know if there's more cards like this in the set. We're not going to bother to check. They're out of their minds. They're spending every second trying to figure out how to make new products and how to milk us for every dollar on the secondary market without realizing, hey, you know, the secondary market's based on people wanting to play your game and being engaged in your product. Like, the secondary market isn't some nebulous ghost of the universe that will exist independent of your actions. You need to smarten up, right? So, Let's move on to the next item on the list. This is Wizards of the Coast sending out a cease and desist letter over proxies. Now, this seems like a crazy situation, right? Because at first glance, basically how it works is Wizards of the Coast has come out and said that their position is when it comes to playtest cards and proxies, as long as you're not using them in an official capacity, like you're not trying to pass them off as real Magic cards in a tournament, or you're not trying to sell them, then you're not really going to run into any kind of problem. So if you're making playtest cards for your own use, they would rather you like write on a piece of paper or whatever. But if you're at home printing out like, oh, I printed out the Power 9 or whatever, Wizards is not going to be like, hey, we got the police here. We're going to beat you with sand-filled hoses for printing that out. We're taking your printer and your dog and your shoes. Like, they don't care because it doesn't cost them any money, right? You have to understand that what we're going to talk about here boils down to like Wizards needing to protect the property that they own in terms of Wizards of the Coast. So when it comes to proxies, if you make proxies for your own personal use, you're going to be absolutely fine, right? If you have a website or something like that that you set up for people to make proxies with, you're the one who might run into problems depending on how you handle things. So I'm going to explain the scenario that led to Wizards of the Coast sending out legal documentation. And apparently this unfolded over the course of 2 weeks. There's not like a ton of information about it, but regardless, it's an interesting scenario to discuss when Wizards is going to take action on proxies and when they're not going to. And also, this is, I mean, in my opinion, a direct consequence of the 30th anniversary big commemorative reprint of the reserved list, where they go, it's not reserved list because we put a different back on it, but it is reserved list, right? So you have a bunch of people who now go, Wizards has endorsed proxies, we can use proxies, I feel more comfortable using proxies. The truth is, a lot more people have shifted over from feeling like Magic cards are something special and proxies aren't real Magic cards into, these are identical game pieces to me, what do I care? So you have a push for more people wanting more proxies. But that's not what's causing Wizards to take action, because there will always be people making proxies. There will always be places you can do it. What happens is when you move into trying to monetize it. So this particular proxy maker set up a paywall where you were able to access some of the content. I'm not sure exactly how it worked because I've never used proxy making sites or anything like that, so I don't have a lot of experience in this regard. I'm just going off the information that was available. But anyways, you have this scenario where a paywall is set up. So now this is where everything changes. Wizards of the Coast will not bother you if you're printing out your own game pieces. They probably won't bother you if you're setting something up for other people to print out their own game pieces where no money is involved. But as soon as you're a proxy maker and you're taking money for it, you turn into competition for Wizards of the Coast. So if you're using their mana symbols and the other things that they own, like, I don't know whether it's trademark or copyright, whatever it is, the legalese doesn't matter. The point is that Wizards of the Coast owns things like the mana symbol, the tap symbol, and all this sort of thing. They belong to the company. And so if somebody starts using those and selling the result, then if Wizards of the Coast doesn't step up and say, hey, you have to stop, then apparently how the law works is the law could go, okay, look, you're not actually trying to protect what's yours. You don't care about it. Anybody could use it. So as long as you're doing it and you're not making any money, then Wizards isn't forced to step up and say you have to stop. But as soon as you monetize it, then you have to stop. And this is different from, for example, from people using like Wizards items in videos. Technically, people shouldn't be using Magic the Gathering's actual logo and the mana symbols. It's even against their fan content policy. If you're somebody who abides by their fan content policy and puts those disclaimers in your videos, like even then you are supposed to not use the mana symbols, you're not supposed to use the logo, but you can use them as part of something. So for example, if you had the entirety of a Magic card displayed and it had the logo and the symbols as part of it when you're talking about it, there are very weird rules when it comes to this, and obviously there are things like fair use as well, but once it becomes commercialized, once you start selling it, it becomes a different beast. So Wizards of the Coast views people using this stuff for videos and things like that as just advertising. Whether somebody's talking positively or negatively directly about the game, it's still advertisement. Think about these videos that I do. I talk about what's going on with the game positively and negatively. And recently, there has been a ton of bad news. So as a result, there's been a lot of negative news here. And as a result, you have more people talking about Magic and paying attention to it as well. The worst situation is where nobody's talking about it. Nobody's paying attention. People see, whoa, these guys are angry about something. They're passionate about it. It must be something worth saving, right? So passion is of value, whether it's like I'm happy right now or I'm frustrated right now. That is all of value and doesn't detract from the company and doesn't force them to take action the same way that a proxy site like this does. So it's genuinely unfortunate for the person who made that proxy site because as far as I understand, he's a young guy and just didn't understand that what he was doing would actually violate laws, and now he's just getting slapped by lawyers with letters saying, yo, you gotta stop. On the upside, in terms of doing something you're not supposed to, just getting an email saying stop it is a lot better than doing something that's gonna get you slapped in jail. And that's never gonna happen. You're never gonna end up locked away for, yo, bro, I heard that you've been printing scrib sprites on the side. You know, like that's never going to be the world that we live in. But you can't sell like proxies. You can't sell Magic cards directly. I think you can do some kind of side thing where maybe you have like a, hey, if you like our website and you want to help us keep running, you can donate towards that. But just the direct sale of anything that includes any of Magic's assets equals you become direct competition for them. And then legally they have to come in and be like, bam, stop it, right? So, speaking of stop it, here's what I wish Wizards would do. I wish they would stop the printing presses for 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds and say, okay, look, man, we're printing too much stuff because everything is coming out at garbage quality. Case in point, the serialized cards. These are a like flashpoint right now for Magic the Gathering, where if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the new set Brothers War, there are special foils you can only get in collector's boxes, and they're limited to 500 of each card. So those special old bordered artifacts, there's 500 of each of them in the old school border with this foiling and a number stamped in the artwork, because I don't know who thought that would be a good idea. It goes down in the text box, right? Why would you obscure Magic art, the most enjoyable part of the card, with just a big ugly number box when you could tuck it somewhere better and make it look nicer? But put that aside. So you've got these serialized cards. The idea is Wizards wants to create new levels of rarity and have us chase them like fiends, right? But the problem is they're not willing to print them to anything reasonable quality-wise. So we have an absurd amount of these serialized cards that are absolutely wrecked. Like, I am part of a number of different groups all over the internet because I like to keep my feelers out for news, right? And obviously I'm just a Magic fiend too. I love the game. So I see all of the ones that are flowing through the misprint group, right? And the misprint group is where you go and you get the hot, crazy, insane misprints that are super expensive. People will fight over them. And at first, the first couple of misprints for the serialized cards came up and people fought tooth and nail. Gotta get it. It's a serialized card and it's a misprint. These are gonna be rare, man. And then a few more start trickling in and people are like, okay. And then a few more and people are like, all right. And then a few more and people are like, a few more and people are like, and it's gotten to the point now where a whole bunch of people who are actively collectors of misprints, who love misprints, are genuinely frustrated by the scenario going, look, there's more it seems like the regular printed ones are going to become the misprint versions of this. How can you do this? How can you sit there and only print 500 of each of these cards and then from all accounts that I'm getting all over the place, there was one, what was it? I think it was in Portugal, where they said they opened 40 different serialized, 40, 48, some amount of serialized cards where 50% of them could not be considered near mint out of the pack, which means either damage or misprints. And these are supposed to be the chase rares. Wizards just doesn't care about the quality level. And also, think about this. How long is it going to take before a second copy of a serialized card is going to show up, right? It's bound to happen. If anybody has faith in Wizards now and thinks somehow that they're not going to double print some sheet of serialized out there or something like that, they're going to. And as soon as one of those cards gets out into the wild, it puts every serialized card in question. And Wizards has scattershotted the serialized so hard by slapping it on everything. So they've already devalued the concept to begin with by saying it applies to all 80 cards in that archive. And now they've made it so that getting this card is a poor experience. And if you contact customer support, they're not going to have a replacement for you. Do you think they printed more sheets of these, right? Do you think they want extra copies to get out there? So either they don't have replacements, which means you're not going to be able to get a replacement of that card. They'll just be like, we'll give you another booster pack, sorry. Or you'll end up with a scenario where they'll go, yeah, we'll send you a replacement. You go, so there are more than one of each of these. In which either case, this is a terrible situation to find yourself in. And I'm going to get super, super cynical with you guys right now and let you know, there's a part of me that deep down, full on tinfoil hat goes, did they intentionally lower the quality production for these serialized cards because they know the misprint community will lap this stuff up? Because if you don't think this is a possibility, understand, Wizards of the Coast saw that when they accidentally made a commander deck that was the most misprinted garbage in history. It was the most misprinted garbage ever made, but sold individually, it fetched $100,000. And Wizards of the Coast celebrated it by making a card. The guy who found that messed up deck and sold it for $100,000 was enshrined in the game as Emil the Blessed. He's a unicorn. And so you look at it one and go, it's cool that Wizards acknowledges the community. And then you go, they're acknowledging the community for financially gorging on the worst product they've ever made. It's the lowest quality product they've ever made, and it sold for $100,000. So the tinfoil part of my brain goes, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they just go, you know what? Maybe we can up the value on these by misprinting them and get the misprint guys to throw money at it. They threw $100,000 at a double-faced commander deck. So, I mean, why don't we try and milk them? Now, I get we're getting into the realm of like, Wizards is playing 7-dimensional chess. This is the level where people sometimes go like, Wizards leaks are always intentional. They're always a step ahead of us. I think a company that's $1 billion company knows what they're doing and every move is calculated. And it's just like, there is no way on this earth that every move is calculated. But things have gotten so messed up and Wizards are so greedy right now that I literally can't rule out the possibility that they would pull something like this in an attempt to manipulate the misprint market. Because I never would have predicted that they would go, let's try and circumvent the entire secondary market first with secret layers. Then we're going to make a run at the reserve list while going, it's not the reserve list. And you know what? It's worked on some entrenched players. Some entrenched players go, guys, it's not a reprinting of the reserve list because it's a collector's edition. It has a different pack. And Wizards of the Coast has a history of doing things like this. And it's like, okay, guess what? You're correct in the most technical sense. In the most technical sense, according to their promise. You're like, they didn't really violate promise, but it doesn't matter when the reaction from everybody is the same as they did because it's the equivalent, right? You are splitting the finest of hairs to the point where the piece of hair you're going to end up with is so thin, it doesn't even matter, right? That's the situation we find ourselves in. So you have all of this arrogance and greed compounded with this incredibly frenzied pace where they're just like, we are not slowing down, right? We are going faster into 2023 because more products are needed. They managed to get the 30th anniversary $1,000 product out in time for that window where they knew their money was going to be going down. And they know as well, their projections are going to be telling them 2023 is going to be worse, which means Wizards' only answer to anything now is make more products, put more cards in the products, make them more expensive. That is the triforce of power for Wizards of the Coast right now. And the thing is, people aren't buying into it anymore. The Festival in a Box clearance edition is sitting there waiting. It's trash. And speaking of trash, the heads I win, tails you lose commander deck. Guess what, guys? People are actually receiving them. The year-long wait is at an end, friend. Hallelujah! Praise the universe! Wizards of the Coast has delivered the commander deck after only a year of holding your money and just holding their noses, whatever they were doing. And so you have this scenario where people are like, it's in, hooray, let's open it up. And they start to go through it and it's like, all right, just like every secret layer, it's got a bonus card. So, drum roll! Let us show you the epic wait a year for it. Guys, get excited because when you see this, it's worth waiting a year for. Oh, and here it is. Island. Oh, that's a foil island. That is a foil island. Wizards of the Coast sold the secret layer for $100. It took a whole year to get out there. Only 5 cards in the deck. Only 5 cards in the deck are actually secret layer cards. They're double-sided, but there's only 5 cards out of a 100-card commander deck. 95 are reprints with no new art. 95% of the deck is reprints with no new art. You get 5 new cards, and the bonus card, the place where you could hope for a 6th card, is a basic land. Because this was designed back in the era where Wizards still thought that basic lands would excite people. We give out 20 of these foil in a bundle. But oh boy, look at it. It's got different art and we stuck it in the I mean, of course, a company that's arrogant enough to think that you're going to buy 5 lands, basic lands in a secret lair for 40 bones is also probably that's the reason you get this too. But man, what a slap in the face. You wait a whole year and it ends up with an island. At least it's the right color, because looking at this scenario definitely leaves you feeling blue. Anyways, big thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel. Thanks for coming by, everybody. I'll be doing a live stream tonight, and you're welcome to come by and hang out, all right? For now, I'm out of here.